And we are live. We are live. We are live. Welcome back to episode 23 of Fresh Vinyl Live, Ultra Fresh. This episode, we are going to be talking about nothing but the 1966 show of Ultraman, because this year marks the 50th anniversary of the show, so it is time that Fresh Vinyl... Oh no, I forgot to do that. So amateur of me.
What'd you forget to do?
I forgot to mute the YouTube channel. Anyway, it's muted now, so no echo. Sorry about that. So where was I? So yes, I was saying 50th anniversary Ultraman. Time Fresh Vinyl gets ultra fresh. So that's what we're doing here tonight. So joining us, we got David Dobko out up there in Seattle. Rob Dwyer out there. Dyer. Sorry, I always pronounce names wrong. Dwyer. Smack. Shame. Not fresh, Richie. So, and Rob's out there in Michigan. And we got Andy Peters, who transitioned into a ghost for the moment, and he's... Oh, there he is, and there he is! Say hi, Andy. Okay. Anyway, so... What... Are you good, Andy? Very good. All right, so what we're going to be doing here... This is Andy's first time on Fresh Vinyl Live. We will be hoping to have another guest, Vince Elliott, getting on with us, as he's also a very big Ultraman fan. Oh, you got the delay. You don't have a delay, do you, Andy?
No, I don't. You're doing good.
All right, very good. Okay, so our first topic, this is the topics list. We're going to be talking about how we got into the show and when. Then we're going to talk about our 3 favorite episodes. And then we're going to talk about the toys, because I love the toys, and I'll just save my story for later if you don't really know already. So, I'm going to pass the mic to David. David's going to start off with how and when he got into Ultraman 1966. Take it away.
Okay, so I'm a little bit older than you guys, and so I had the pleasure of seeing the series as a child. So basically, I came home from school one day, 1970-something, and turned on the TV, and I saw this cool show that looked really interesting to me. And surprisingly enough, my first Ultraman episode was the only 2-parter in the whole series. It was the Gamora episode. So I was like, wait a minute, this sort of seems like a Godzilla movie, but not really. And then, you know, the next day they had the part 2 of Gamora, and then the next episode after that was Dada, which actually really scared me. I was very scared of that as a little kid.
If you're not scared of Dada, there's a problem.
Yeah, that creepy tribal, you know, mask totem.
It's a creepy episode.
It's a very creepy episode. So anyway, I was absolutely hooked, and I knew that I recognized some of the sounds and special effects techniques that they had used in the Godzilla movies. Even as a kid, I recognized that. And the thing that really solidified it for me is when I heard the phone ring in the Science Patrol HQ, and I'm like, oh my God, that's King Ghidorah's roar right there. So basically, yeah, it was I was probably in 1st or 2nd grade when I first saw it, and I was absolutely hooked. So I have this interesting perspective of being able to have the nostalgia factor of seeing it as a kid, plus the coolness of digging it as an adult. So some of you guys, like Rich and Andy, I know Rob, you may have seen it as a kid too. I'm not sure.
I do.
And it's a whole different perspective than someone like Rich, who just saw it within the last year, I'd say. And you know, so anyway, yeah, I've been a fan since I was in 2nd grade, and the first series, the 66 series, which we're focusing on tonight, is the nearest and dearest to my heart. Ultra Q is pretty cool, and I still haven't seen the whole series yet. I did see Seven and Jack, but they don't really, you know, hold up for me as well as the 1966 one. So yeah, that's basically my story. And then starting to collect the toys, and you know, I was one of the few to really get into the X-Plus Ultra figures early on, so I kind of got them as they were released. Rich, I know, just went on this spree, and he really got this massive amount in a short amount of time, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, so that's pretty much my take on it, and yeah, I love it, and I always do, and I know some people don't get it, but for me, my love for it stems from the nostalgia factor more than the actual show itself. So anyway, that's my take.
All right. Robert, your turn. Take it away.
Well, my story is somewhat similar to David's. I also saw it as a child. I'm trying to think of when it probably was, but I want to say probably about 1975. And I saw it on TV. It was after school. It's probably about 4 o'clock every night. So just in time, in fact, when they would switch the time later on, I got really annoyed because I wouldn't be home from school yet and get to see it. But what really got me about this, and one thing that people forget, nowadays we're like, okay, we've had tokusatsu shows for 60 years. Back in 1975, you were growing up seeing this show or Giant Robo or Space Giants. You'd never seen anything like this. Nothing. There was nothing being made in America at this time that was like these shows. So that really stood out when you're watching it. It's like, wow, this is fucking amazing, basically. Nothing else was out there like it, and it was, it immediately hooked you. It's about the same time, you're starting to. I probably saw my first Godzilla film around the same time, so on and so forth. So it all sort of, just grips you, and it never lets go. The original show has the advantage of, that there is that nostalgia factor, but it really ties in so closely to the Toho era because it was made by, produced by Tsuburaya himself. So, of course, there's very strong ties. I would say I love the show, and I was really kind of sad when it went out of syndication and sort of lost my interest in it. But then back in the early 90s when Godzilla made his revival, sort of about that same time, I sort of got back interested in Ultraman. So I went to a con in the early 90s, and I went apeshit crazy and got a whole bunch of Ultra Bandais and Godzilla Bandais, and whoa, I'm in trouble. And I've basically been collecting them ever since. At this point, I probably have at least 600 or 700 Ultra Bandais alone.
How many? 600 or 700?
Sea of red. When you see someone who collects Ultraman, not so much the kaiju, just Ultraman, that sea of red. It's almost just like I just go because it's just this blanketed sea of one after the other. They're Mexican wrestlers.
For me, Ultraman is as integral to this whole genre as Godzilla is. Literally, it's like the other side of the coin. When I think of this, the whole Japanese giant monster, fandom, I think of Ultraman as almost as big a part as Godzilla at this point.
Agreed.
No, it's true, and a little footnote to my story is, coming full circle. I know Robert and Rich, getting to go to Kaiju Sakaba, actually, for my 50th birthday, I sort of came full circle. Seeing it as a child and then actually celebrating a milestone birthday in Japan in a place that celebrates the series that we love so much and be surrounded by that was kind of full circle for me.
Dave,
And
you might want to explain Kaiju Sakaba for the audience.
Yes. Forgive me. Kaiju Sakaba is translated Kaiju Bar, and it started out as a pop-up restaurant in Tokyo, in the Kawasaki district of Tokyo. And, excuse me, it ended up becoming...
That's cold, David.
I'm sorry?
That's cold. I caught it too. I blame you.
Yeah. It's going around, yep.
Whoa.
Kaiju Sakaba is a really cool place, and if you're ever in Japan, there's actually one in Osaka now too that Rich and I actually went to in last December. So anyway, it's a cool place that has memorabilia, posters, figures, artwork, everything that has to do with the Ultra series. And actually, the whole menu is geared, items from Ultraman series. Like there's a twin tail tempura. They have a Kanagon stew or something like that. But it's just really, really fun, and they celebrate.
You get your own little Kanagon.
Yep. It's very, very cool. So, to be able to do that as an adult, having seen it so many years ago and loved it, like Robert said, and it's a children's show, so it has the appeal to children, which it absolutely did for me, and I agree with Robert. It really has. In Japan, it's actually in some ways more popular than Godzilla is, because Ultraman is everywhere. I mean, maybe Rich can talk about this too a little more. There's an Ultraman street that we went to.
Yep, by Toho.
Street is all, celebrates Ultraman. So anyway, I just wanted to put that little footnote in there, and actually this lovely mug that I'm drinking, it's a Dodango mug from my first visit to Kaiju Sakaba in Tokyo. With my Manhattan libation inside, is just here to celebrate. Come by.
Come by.
All right, Rob, you want to continue on with your story?
No, I think it pretty much covers it because I've never really. I mean, I took a break during high school because I was too old for this stuff, and and then after school, once you get out of high school, you realize how dumb that was, and I went right back into it, and that was that, and I've been collecting ever since. So. Ditto.
Okay, Andy, your turn.
Yeah.
How and when you got into Ultraman?
Well, a lot of it is thanking Ted Turner from the South. He had a station called TBS and had a yen for the shows. You would see Space Giants. You would see sometimes you would see Ultraman. It was just that was the first thing was Space Giants. I went, like you say, Robert. It was like my mind was like, somebody made this. There are miniatures. I often like to think of Ultraman as like a combination of if you want your kaiju, folks, and you do, you love your Gigan. But what happens when they've run out of movies and you've run out of characters? So obviously you're going to need to turn somewhere, and I turned to Ultraman because sure there's 53 episodes per series. It's like shopping. You can basically pick and choose which ones you want. For me, it was the show called Night Flight. If anyone remembers Night Flight on USA, it's got to be 84 or 5. And they would play the Power Rangers, the shows, and they would play booby movies and everything. And then the next thing you know, they would show this thing where one guy, who's clearly some sort of wrestler type, was beating stuff up. I was like, where? It didn't lock in until basically, like David said, the last couple of years. I just suddenly was like, phew, basically the X-Plus figures. I see them and I'm like, I like that. That's pretty dope. The next thing you know, I'm watching the entire series and I'm on an epic quest to get every single one of them watched before I drop dead. Good luck, by the way. It's insane. That's how I felt.
All right. I guess that leaves me. How I got into Ultraman, and
it's my fault.
See. No, well, yes, it's your fault. But it was the appeal that you have for the show that really got me into it.
It has to be David's fault because I was pressuring you for at least the last year and it didn't work.
Yeah, you got. Well,
Robert, I was doing it before the year.
Yes, David was. David, I actually bought. I have bought Ultraman on DVD probably back in 2014, and I started the show and I got probably about halfway through it. But going way back to when I was a kid, I was over one of my friend's house. And we were in his room hanging out, and he had a sticker on his bed, and it was Ultraman's face. And I was like, I know that from something, but I never ever saw the show, but I knew it was Ultraman. but as a kid, I just never really went out of, I guess I want to say, didn't go out of my way to dig into finding out who Ultraman was, but I knew he was somehow in the same genre as
I think it's the same reason that both of us, that you and I sort of stopped. It's like, and it was like, is it a dude? What is it? Is it a monster?
Yeah.
My mind could not. I mean, I would have been into it earlier, is what I'm saying, but it just somehow went. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I knew what it was. So fast forward, until the last, 2-3 years or so, and the more I got into the fan base of our hobby, connecting with fans, going to G-Fest, doing the Fresh Vinyl Live, talking about X-Plus figures in the X-Plus group way back when, and okay, now I know what Ultraman is, and again, David, it wasn't until you were like, oh, you got to watch the show. You got to watch the show. So in 2014, like I said a few minutes ago, I bought the DVD off Amazon, and I highly recommend it because you can get it for like $10-12, and it's the value you're gonna get out of that. It's way worth more than $12. So
Yango
2014
alone is worth $12.
Say what?
Yango alone is worth $12.
Yeah.
See that episode? You're like, well.
So I started the show, and David mentioned this before. First episode, like the first 30 seconds, they're in the Science Patrol headquarters, and the phone rings, and it's King Ghidorah's roar. And I had to hit, I pressed pause, and I remember texting David, and I'm like, oh my God, it's King Ghidorah's roar. I'm like, this is amazing. So instantly, I was brought back to feeling like a first grader watching a lost show of film like that I've never seen before, and I'm like, how have I never seen this? And I'm like shame, Richard, shame, And I got about halfway through the show, in early 2000 or late 2014, and then into early 2015. I never got around to finishing it.
Sorry.
It's okay. So, I was busy with school and some other things going on, so I ended up getting halfway through the show, but it wasn't until we went to Japan this year, and I got, spoiled with Ultraman stuff, just from talking with David about Ultraman, Rob with Ultraman, Vince Elliott, who's hopefully going to join us shortly, and John Stanowski and a bunch of other people that were really into the Ultraman lore. But when we went to Japan, on our way to Toho Studios, we went through Ultraman Town, and that was mind blowing. Just seeing street lights with Ultraman eyes over them, Ultra Sevens, whatever you call that thing on his head.
Eye slugger.
There you go.
Eye slugger. Cut your head off right away.
Yeah, I'm like, this is so awesome. So we did Ultraman Town, and then we went to, again, like David and Rob were talking about, Kaiju Sakaba, and that was amazing because I'm like, we're home. We are home. This is our place. We need one of these on the West Coast, or maybe like 4 on the West Coast, 4 on the East Coast, and a bunch spread out through the United States.
We should open one. Dead serious.
Should. I mean, it's just so awesome. So I got spoiled there, and then, now before I get into the figures, I will say I did have about 4 Ultraman X-Plus figures, and I was like, I'm just gonna get a couple ones that I like. So I had, and this was back in like 2014.
Wait, hold on a minute. I got you're skipping a part. Hopefully you may get to it, but I got to tell this part of Rich's story.
Go ahead.
So we're lucky enough to be invited to. Wait, hold on a minute. I hear a skipping a part. Hopefully you may get to it, but I got to tell this part of Rich's story.
Who's that going?
So someone's got some feedback going. I don't know what's going on.
Somebody's echoing.
Hold on a minute. I hear a skipping a part. Hopefully you may get to it.
Oh.
Who's that going?
Difficulties. Wow, that's bad. Who's it?
Name me.
Nobody's playing the YouTube broadcast in the background?
I restarted. Wasn't me.
You want to go off and come back on again?
Is it your mic? It's so cool.
No, I'm good.
Wow.
All right, I'm gonna go and come back.
All right.
So Italian language.
So these are
Very weird.
All right, I'm gonna go and come back.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Robert, I think it's you.
I think it's you.
No, wait, it's not Robert.
It's not Robert. It's David. I always knew it was David. It's always been.
How do I unmute Robert? Why do I hear myself still?
Well, I hear you too. So.
Yeah, but I hear an echo. Bullshit, I'm sorry.
Hear the echo. Here we go. Let's see if David's got a sound problem.
Okay, is it me?
Maybe. Keep saying shit.
Is it me?
Talk. Maybe. No, I don't think so. I think we cured it. Although, unmute Robert.
Yeah, unmute me, please.
There we go. I think
Okay, we're good?
it was a temporary cluster.
Totally.
No, it still seems like it's going on.
I don't hear it.
I'm hearing my voice.
Before it was like a whole bunch of cats being slammed over the head with a suitcase.
Yeah, it sounds fine now.
We're good to
Am
go.
I sounding like I'm echoing? Am I sounding like I'm echoing?
You are echoing a bit, but it's not bad.
No, it's bad. I don't know what's happening here.
Un momento, por favor.
I
Yeah,
haven't
let's start
touched.
rapping. Well, my name is Andy, and I'm here to say that I like Ultraman in a major way. Oh boy, that's all I had, by the way. So.
That's weird. Yeah,
Time to get a beer.
David's got a bit of an echo, but everyone else sounds fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
No, I just heard an echo.
Okay.
I may actually have to do it because I don't know what to do. Tell you what. Yeah, mine's totally echoing. I don't know what to do. Hold on a minute.
Couldn't have it. No beer situation.
Okay.
All right, anything better now?
Oh, everything's
No, now you're actually echoing.
What the fuck?
Well, let me just tell you, while we have this lull, yeah, everybody enjoys Ultraman, sure. But what real people like is...
No, we don't.
So, I
I
think
like 7 better.
I think I may have to sign off because I think I'm the problem.
Try signing off and then back in again. I still hear an echo myself.
Meanwhile, here's a nice Ultra 7 monster.
We apologize, folks. We're experiencing technical difficulties.
I'll just get into my whole rant about Ultra 7 while we get into that.
No.
More adult? You bet. More entertaining? Sure.
What the
Sure, he takes that thing off his head and kills.
Sorry, I just muted Andy. I thought, check. Rob, you still there?
Yep.
Now I don't hear anything. I don't hear no echo, no nothing.
Okay. Hold on. Work calls. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Guys, sorry for the hiccup here. It happens sometimes. But, you know, while, Andy, you got to try to figure out how to unmute yourself. Let's see, how do I unmute you? Yeah, unmute yourself.
Wow, I have the power.
Check.
The ultra power.
Andy, when you're not muted, I can hear an echo. You might have your volume too loud on your computer.
My computer. This is my phone, dog.
That's probably the problem.
It ain't mine.
But I see You don't hear the echo because you're
I hear your echo.
because
You got
it's
a mad tinny sort of. Here, let me try this. Oh.
check.
Ah.
1, 2. Buckle my shoe. Mr. Fresh Vinyl's coming for you. Freaking echo. Anyway, look, I'm just going to put it out there. I don't care about this echo right now. So, we went to Kaiju Sakaba. We had a grand old time. And then we were with G. Okamoto. And we went to X-Plus HQ the next day after Kaiju Sakaba. I was completely overloaded with Ultraman awesomeness. And then going to X-Plus HQ the following day, we're there, and I've made mention on this in probably a couple of videos here and there or whatnot, and G gave us gifts. You know, he gave, I picked up Benia and a Boris from, the first Ultraman show, and this is where I said, this is it. I am going, head first into Ultraman, and, as soon as we got home, I'll get into the figures once we get into the figure section of the show, and, I'm like, that's it. I'm Ultraman, 100% balls to the walls, and I went home and I started watching the show. I probably did at least 2 or 3 episodes a night on, whenever we were, whenever I got home from work and whatnot. And I love the show. I can tell you right now that it was, like I mentioned earlier, like watching a show, a film that I never watched before, and I was completely taken back to, watching Godzilla films on Monster Vision or recording them on VHS or whatnot, and it was completely awesome. So I have a really big soft spot in my heart right now for Ultraman. So I do know a couple other people have gotten into it, watching the show. They picked up the DVDs, a couple friends of ours, and I just hope that they feel the same thing that we all feel here when we're watching the show, because it was completely a blast. Just from the monster fights, even though it was a 30-minute show. David, if you're watching this, come back in. Hold on, people. Take a sip of your drink if you're drinking, a coffee or a latte. But I will say, sign back in, David. Sign back in. Even though it's a 30-minute show, I felt like it was enough of like watching them one movie after another. They got right to the point. They didn't really waste too much time. And the characters were relatable. This is the other thing I love about the show, is the characters. Ito, Rob, what was his name in Japanese?
It was Ide in the Japanese version. They call him Ito in the English version.
English version, yeah. That's something I picked up on, after I finished the show. Because I think I had put on the Japanese audio with subtitles, and the name was different. David, you good?
Yeah. There's a funny story about the guy who played Ide. Because apparently he wasn't the first person they had chosen for that role, but there was some sort of contract dispute, and Masanari Nihei, who plays Ide, stepped in. But now we're like, you can't really think of anyone else who would have played that role the same way.
Yeah, and that is. So I'm sorry.
Hold on, I just want to make sure I'm okay.
You're good. No issues, David. We're good to go. I think it was Andy's phone. Because his audio was playing from his phone, which was so close to the mic on his phone, which was creating an echo effect.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. That didn't happen before. That's the first time. So.
But go ahead, David.
No, I just wanted to finish the story about our experience at X-Plus. So, anyway, getting back to what we were talking about before, we did Ultraman Street, we did Kaiju Sakaba, we were, invited to HQ, X-Plus HQ, and which was amazing in itself, and we saw the whole lineup of all the figures that they have made. And then the one of the guys who invited us, G, was handing out gifts to us for taking the time to come, which was kind of unheard of. We were like blown away, and he had a bunch of things that he was handing out. They were like sample figures, which was amazing. And he hands Rich. Well, they were on the table, and everybody was kind of choosing what they wanted. And Rich looks at me. There was a Wonderfest Aberos and Vanilla set, and Rich is like, "Hey Dave, are those good? Should I take those?" I'm like, "Dude, if you don't take them, you know, they're not just good, they're amazing, and they're kind of hard to find." So some of Rich's first figures were the Wonderfest set of Aberos and Vanilla, the Reborn set. And yeah, he got those as a gift for visiting X-Plus HQ, which was pretty incredible. So yeah, and I think that was a big factor in you wanting to go a little bit deeper and get more figures. So yeah, that
bribed into the fandom. I see.
No, it was a wonderful moment because Rich didn't know what he had in his hands, and I'm like, dude, if I didn't have those already, I would be fighting you. We'd be wrestling on the floor for them. Yeah,
man.
They are.
I've been there.
and there they are. You know,
these are. Yep. Just Dave, I'll take the mic for a second. I'm sorry. And you know, we're trying not to step on each other, people. We're trying to make an effort. We talked about this before, but these are the actual figures that were taken photographs of that were posted on the Rick site. That these are the production figures per se. I'm gonna probably go as far as say these are probably painted in that workshop that we were in. So I'm just based off of my being there and whatnot. I think it's a safe call. Safe bet to assume that, and I don't really like assuming, but again, safe bet. But to have these figures from X-Plus HQ, yes, like Robert was saying, this was, the poison that got into my blood, into my veins and everything, and this is what really set me into overdrive, it set me over the edge. Okay, it's time to do Ultraman. It put it off long enough, and now it's time. Especially getting them from G at X-Plus HQ. I mean, how much better does it get than that? To add to the story, when me and John, Brandy, and Jess, we were out in Osaka a few days later, we went to 3 toy shops that were within walking distance of each other. I forget the name of it. Haru Gangu, I think the name of it was. It was not too far from Astro Zombies. And another, what's the other one? It doesn't matter.
It was in Den Town, right? Den
Town, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't too far from there. I think that's where it was. All the shops and everything. But anyway, we went to this one shop. They had a bunch of X-Plus figures. I'm gonna put a video together, with all the other more pictures and more video that I still have not posted. David, there's one that I cannot wait to show you, a clip of something that's just priceless. And you're in it. FYI. But we saw more X-Plus figures, me and John. We saw some Ultraman stuff, and we were like, oh, if we get it, we get it. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I was still teeter-tottering about, should I do this? Should I pull the trigger? Because I knew once I pull the trigger, there is no stopping me. I am a nutcase, and I am a completionist when it comes to certain things that really captured my heart. And yes, I mean, Ultraman really captured my heart. So if I was really going to pull the trigger, I'm going balls to the wall. I'm all in, no excuses. So we left the store. We went out to lunch. We went out to this magnificent restaurant called McDonald's. You may have heard of it in Japan. And we had a wonderful, glorious lunch with double cheeseburgers and fries. And then me and John were sitting there over this glorious meal. And we were like, oh, man, should we go back? He's like, and we both said, we're probably never going to see these figures anywhere else for the price that we saw them. And I think we both agreed that the figures that we were looking at, they were at the top of, what we were probably willing to spend. So we both said, all right, we're going to go back and we're going to do this. I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this. Bam. So I forget the name of the figure that John picked up. It was the one with the teeth he was trying to put in back at the house from Ultra 7, I think it was. He's really weird looking. I can't remember it. I don't have a picture at the moment.
Ultra 7?
I think it was Ultra 7. Or maybe it was Meebus. I don't remember. It was a real weird looking thing. He had like 2 little fangy teeth or something. But maybe somebody else knows out there. And it's not a big deal. I should have a picture of it for reference. I'm sorry. But the figure I was looking at is one that really creeped me out, and it was Dada. And where is
Oh yes, it's the Rick Dada with the micronizer.
The micronizer.
Yes, so I saw him in the box, Rick Boy 2. It was like $220. And I'm like, how can I not grab this? You know, so I'm not going to go too deep into figures for right now, but anyway, I grabbed this and I was like, that's it. If I get this, then as soon as we get home from Japan, you know, I'm going hunting. So I got home from Japan, I started hunting, I finished the Ultraman show, and I love it. So really, that's my long, drawn-out version of how and when I got into Ultraman. And I'm probably going to start the show again very, very soon, just so I can go in and just absorb more of the show, because it really is great. So that's my story. We're going to roll right into the next topic, and our 3 favorite episodes. So, Robert, you're first. What are your 3 favorite episodes? Feel free to...
Oh, gosh. Okay, you put me on the spot by being
That's
first.
right. It's because it's fresh on the spot. So.
Well, I'll be honest. There's almost none that I don't like, so it's really hard. But I'll throw a couple out there. I'll start with episode 17. That's the... it's called Passport to Infinity, which is the episode with the 2 stones that merge into the big kind of meteor monster, and it warps time and space. I love that episode. It's just so weird and out there. And it's one of the things I loved about Ultraman in general. It's like, yeah, there was a formula, but there wasn't. Like, so many of the episodes are so different from each other, you know, different. They weren't afraid to try new things. And that episode, like, just stood out. And like, wow, that's, you know, especially as a kid, I'm like, wow, that was really trippy and out there. And I love the monster. I used the same sound effects as they used for Deborah. So that was, you know, that was interesting. I just really love it. You know, nothing like seeing the sequence where you see these tanks floating in the air and then they all blow up, and then the little planes are like scurrying around the ground and they all blow up, and you know, Ultraman gets warped into another dimension and all this other stuff. It was really, really quite interesting. I just like that they tried different things, and that one was definitely out there. Wasn't your typical monster of the week, that's for sure.
How do you pronounce that monster's name?
I believe he's called Bultan or Brutan, something to that.
Bultan?
Yeah.
I think it is.
I don't know. He looked like a big piece of rock with holes in it, basically. But it was interesting. It was different. It's like, okay, it made sense that it wouldn't look like anything real because it's from some other dimension. So it was good that they made it like all weird. But I really like that one. They used some great musical cues from Ultra Q in it as well. Like, a lot of the music from that episode is from Ultra Q, so it has that Ultra Q vibe kind of as well. So that's definitely one. Let's see, 2 more. God, it's really hard to narrow it down. I mean, I could list like half the series episodes.
All right, why don't you do this? Why don't you pick one from season 1, season 2, and season 3?
Well,
that makes it easier, right?
Somewhat.
Type A, Type B, and Type C. That makes it pretty easy, I think. A little. It narrows it down.
I'll go with, I believe, from the first 12 or 13 episodes. Yeah, see, nothing really stood out like really from the first episodes because I'm a BC man. But
all right, then do anyone. You choose anyone.
I'll go with episode 18, the one immediately following the with Zarab and the Imitation Ultraman. That one's also quite creepy. And
that's a really good episode.
And it also guest stars Yoshio Tsuchiya from the Controller Planet X. He is a scientist in that episode. He's very brief in the beginning, but he's there. And I love Yoshio Tsuchiya, so anything with him in it automatically gets a higher grade. The man can do no wrong to me. But I really love that episode. I love the whole idea of the Imitation Ultraman. Even though it's fairly cliched, you know, the evil Ultraman has the evilly slanted eyes. And it's kind of funny, but it's so cool at the same time. My only gripe on that episode is the English version makes Zarab seem way too villainous early on, and you can't really buy the fact that, why are they letting him just walk around and do whatever he wants? Whereas the Japanese version, he's a little more laid back, so you're not really thinking he's bad. And they're also a little more like, well, we're not sure we can trust him. Where in the English version, they just sort of let him do what he wants. I think that's a great episode. A lot of weirdness, but you gotta love when they're doing the tug of war with Hoshino sitting on those strings there. That was great. So definitely that one. And I'll go with my third. I'll do episode 37. I like that one because I like the monster Geronimon. I like Pigmon. It was a cool story idea. It made sense because they had fought all these monsters. Well, where else are you going to go? Well, let's have the leader of the monsters. So, they have the leader there. And it also ties up the show nicely in terms of character arcs because Ide has, his big moment of crisis. And that sort of ties up the show in terms of character development. So that's another interesting thing about the show. There's just all around a good episode, some good moments in it, and I love the monster. I kind of wish they'd done a little more with him, but still very good. I love the design of it, and Pigman sacrifices himself. Just cool stuff. Again, just a different episode. So I'll list those three. I mean, I could list probably a half a dozen more, but I'll stick with those three for now, and I'll let someone else take it away.
Those are great choices. I mean, the Zara episode. I think the title of the episode is
Brother from
another planet or something.
Oh, yeah. From Zarabia. It's Brother from Another World. Yeah.
I'm surprised I even knew that.
That's a very close call for me. I really like that episode too. I think it's really well done. But it's interesting. I bet the three of us are going to have three separate, all different ones that we dig. So, all right, my first episode. Actually, there's a pattern to the ones that I like the best. They all scared me when I was a kid. So I'm going to start with Type A Ultraman Season 1. It's called Cry of the Mummy. And it's the episode with Dodongo.
Yeah.
That mummy, that weird little mummy creature, scared the shit out of me when I was little.
I agree. The same
really
thing.
Scary when the two night watchmen are in the hallway at night. They really set it up for a pretty creepy, scary episode. And that mummy actually killed people. Like, those people were dead. The guy that was murdered in the sewer entrance was dead. They had like the outline and tape on the ground and everything. So even though you find out that the mummy actually turns out to be more of a sympathetic character who they should have just left alone, and they ended up having to actually kill him. Sorry, spoilers. Although it did air in 1966, so spoiler alerts are, whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, Eric.
Watch it already, folks.
Yeah. So anyway, and then the monster itself, the creature is actually based on a mythical Japanese creature called a Kirin, which I've always liked that creature, and it's the only monster that really has two guys. One of the few monsters that has two guys in the suit. And again, I wish they would have done more with the monster. He got blinded pretty quick, but it's still a great episode. It's got some scariness to it. It's got some sympathy in it. And it's just a super episode, and it's one of the first ones where the Science Patrol is really starting to say, wait a minute, Hayata's not here, and Ultraman's there. They're starting to kind of make a connection, which never really goes anywhere.
Oh, come on. He blew his secret ID in episode 2.
No, but they actually make reference to the fact, look at him standing there just like Ultraman. But anyway, that's a great episode. The second episode choice for me is actually Dada. Because that whole episode, for me, that was the third episode I saw ever, and I think I was in first or second grade seeing it. And those creatures are scary, man. I mean, they can walk through walls, they can paralyze you, they can assume your identity, they can make you materialize. There he is, and they can shrink your ass down and send you back to their planet for experiments. Who knows what they were doing with you there? And then I think the Japanese title of that episode is Specimens
Human
5.
specimens. Yeah.
Human Specimens 5 and 6. And even the strange woman, the mysterious woman with the dark glasses, she was very creepy, and the whole bus accident thing. And actually the English version of that episode, the Dada's voice sort of has a feminine twang to it, so it makes it even more menacing and creepy, I think. They have like a female voice, except for the leader. He's the guy, but the one main Dada has sort of a feminine voice, and it's very scary to me. So love that episode. I love that they shrink Ultraman down in that episode. That was kind of an interesting thing with the micronizer, and yeah, dig that one. And then I gotta say, from season 3, Type C, I like the Coronia episode. Who Has Come? Very creepy. That blood-sucking plant from South America, who is, there he is. Yep. Here he comes. This is the CCP figure. And yeah, very, very, very creepy episode. Yeah. And they're trying to take over the world, and they're actually not from outer space. They're from South America, which is kind of interesting. And just an intriguing, cool episode where, again, I was afraid of that monster as a kid too. So those 3, I think, really are standouts for me. And I have to give one, and Robert, you can do this too. One honorable mention. It's the Aberos and Vanilla episode. The Demons Once More. Love that episode. Love the fact that there's a red monster and a blue monster fighting, and the time capsule whole thing, and that's my, yeah, there he is. That is my honorable mention. So Rich, take it away. What are yours?
Robert, what's your honorable mention?
I believe it or not, I think my honorable mention would be the same episode that David mentioned. Actually, I think I like that episode mainly because I think the character designs on the monsters are very, very good.
Very good.
Considering Aberos is basically Red King with his head chopped off, you can't do much better in a recreated monster than that. I like something about the design of the head is really interesting about it. The monster is also portrayed like as very, very strong, so it sort of has a presence to it. You just feel like this thing is really strong. It takes 3 of Ultraman's spacium beams to put him down. That's quite a bit. Normally just done. This monster takes 3 of those shots after having Ultraman slap him around a bit. The other monster was really bizarre, weird looking. And the whole, it sort of lended itself, it sort of made you think, okay, so there was this advanced civilization way back when, and they were able to, trap these monsters. I sort of kind of like, I would have loved to have heard about that backstory. It was interesting, even though they never really elaborate, but it made me think, like, well, that's cool. So yeah, definitely, probably same episode for an honorable mention. Maybe not the best script. I mean, it's pretty basic, but just in the way it's executed, it's good.
And I never looked at construction sites the same after that movie, after that show.
You're like, where's the time?
They did a lot of destruction in that episode, and their fight was pretty damn awesome too, I will say. All right, so my 3 favorite. I'm going to start backwards from 3, and I'm going to have to go with the episode with Antlar. I don't know what it is about that kaiju, but I really dig the design, not to mention it's Batra's roar from 1966. I'm like, wow, like that existed a long time ago. I mean, it's also Rodan's a little bit.
It's a hybrid of Rodan and Batra.
Yeah.
Well, Batra, they used it for Batra.
Batra, yeah, they used it for Batra. Sorry, if but to hear that made it a little bit more relatable just for some reason. But I really like the story of that episode. It's completely like out there as far as the sci-fi aspect of the show goes, and that's exactly what they were going for. And any and every possible situation that the Science Patrol can get themselves into, they got into. Some mystical kind country in the desert, whatnot. And one thing I really liked, which is something I think would be awesome, even if it was a fan film, if they went back and did like a prequel to that episode, because Ultraman obviously existed at some point during, that time, with that country, because they had the statue there with him and the stone on his hand. So that would be a cool. I watching that episode, I'm like, I want to know about how they know about Ultraman. He's been to planet Earth obviously before. So I really liked that episode. It was it was a good battle. And again, Antlar is just I really dig that kaiju. He's just really neat looking.
Would have defeated Ultraman if it wasn't for the stone.
Yeah.
I mean, very tough kaiju.
Yeah.
I mean that stone is what saved him. I mean, he was getting the better of Ultraman. I mean, Ultraman did not break his mandible, but if it wasn't for Captain Mora throwing that stone at him, yeah, there he is. There he is.
This is Antlar, for those that are watching, if you're not sure. I love the insect-like of this kaiju. So,
and the episode title was called "The Blue Stone of Barrage."
Yeah, there you go. I forgot that.
That's episode 7.
I don't know
Episode 7.
numbers. I know it's season 1.
Yeah, it's episode 7.
And the one thing I loved about Antlar is again, which gave him an advantage over Ultraman. Like any other kaiju that burrows underground, they go underground and they could pop up right underneath your feet. So I like that. Let me put him back down.
Yeah, that kaiju also has that magnetic ray.
That too, yeah. That's what was disturbing the ship, so they had to actually fly over it and whatnot, get high enough. My second favorite episode, which really it really grabs you by the heart, is with what is it? The Monster Graveyard in Space with Sibozu.
Episode 35.
What was the name of it? Did I get the title right?
Monster Graveyard.
Monster Graveyard.
Monster Graveyard. Okay, so I did have it right. But before I even saw the episode, I really loved this creature because the design is really exactly the opposite of everything we're usually used to seeing. Just even as simplistic as it is, of black and white, but it looks like a skeleton of Godzilla, if you ask me, because these look like dorsal plates on his back.
It does. It really does. It looks like a show of Godzilla. It does. Absolutely.
Yeah, so very, very interesting design here. But the episode itself, you will feel bad for Sibozu as the episode progresses. He ends up on Earth. The Science Patrol is in space. They were doing. I can't remember exactly what they were doing in the in that monster graveyard. They were starting to see all the other monsters that Ultraman threw into space, and they were all there. But Sibozu makes it back to Earth by accident, and all he wants to do is get back into space. He wants to go home. He doesn't want to be here on Earth, So the one scene where he's on top of the building and he's got his hands up and he's roaring up to space. I'm like, that is awesome. I'm like, I just really connected with him, sympathetically wise, because he just wants to go home, and he's like the poor thing, and he's crying, and then he's walking through the field, in the fields or whatever. His hands behind his back. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna get home, man. This stinks, So Ultraman shows up, and the Science Patrol, they devise a plan to get him back into space. So they fight, and Sibozu didn't really understand what was going on, how they were trying to help him, So when Ultraman shows up, he's trying to I forget, was there one scene where he went to go look like he was gonna hit him, and Sibozu was almost. I have to watch it again, but great episode. Yeah. He did that, because he was like the poor thing, So I love that episode. It was really a close tie almost for 1 or 2.
It's a great episode, and it ties in. There's a lot of continuity because it shows scenes from the other battles too, which is a really nice touch. So it's got continuity from the whole series, just like the Geronimon episode too.
Yeah, little callbacks to earlier in the show. And forgive me, I don't know which is considered season 1 or 2, only as defined by the different suit types, right? Obviously, A, B, and C.
I think the way they did it is I think it's done in 13 episode blocks. So it's like the first 13, the next 13, and that at least that's I thought I read that somewhere. But it might be soup type as well.
Shibozu is third season type C for sure.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Anwar is season 1 type A.
So my favorite episode, it was a favorite from when I first started the show almost a year and a half ago, whatever it was, and it's with this creature right here, Giango. There is something about this kaiju that I really like. It's just crazy colors. It's his crazy gremlin-like face, and it's his crazy way he came to exist. The stone that falls to Earth, it becomes anything that you want it to become. All you gotta do is think about it, and poof, it turns into cakes. It turns into a bride, if you want. All kinds of stuff. These kids found it, in a field after it fell to Earth, and I completely love that episode. It's really a simple episode, storytelling-wise, but it's just that fun, as simple as it is. And if you didn't know, I only learned this not too long ago. After somebody mentioned it to me, then I looked at the figures I have. Giango is actually this figure here, but the suit is actually used of Bemlar. It's funny to have them right next to each other. So you can see the similarities between the two of them. Bam. Same thing.
Same suit, yep.
Same suit.
Well, I'll note that episode, the guy who plays the guy who steals the stone, he's a Toho veteran named Ran Yamamoto. He was in the original Godzilla film. He was in Godzilla, Mothra vs. Godzilla. He's the surviving sailor in War of the Gargantuas.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean,
if
you watch the series, in almost every episode, you'll find a Toho actor in there. It might just be briefly, but the connection is very strong. I mean, Akiko Wakabayashi is in episode 5, the princess from Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. She plays the chick attacked by the plant monster that they're trying to protect. There's just so much crossover.
Well, first and foremost, Robert, Haru Nakajima, the original Godzilla, is in. He actually, not only has he played some of the kaiju, I believe, I know he played Noronga, and I think Chikas too, and maybe one or two others, but he also was out of costume in the Comet episode with Gigas, Dorako, and Red King 2.
Yeah, he's in the scene with the crowd of people that are awaiting the comet. Yeah, he's also in episode.
He's ecstatic and jumping around because the comet passes the Earth. So it's kind of cool to see Nakajima in a. It's a kind of a fun part, and he's definitely front and center. He's not just in the back, and it's great to see him in that capacity.
Yeah, it's also he's in episode I believe it's episode 33. He plays a police officer with Nephiros, the alien. He turns Fuji into the giant.
All right.
Nakajima has a very brief role as a police officer in that episode. It's just, honestly, I could list this all day, but there's so much crossover. I mean, Yoshitsuchi, and of course, you can't forget, Serizawa himself, Akihiro Harada. He had a semi-regular role as, I think, Professor Miyajima, I believe?
No, Iwamoto. He's Iwamoto.
Yeah. And, so of course, there's that instant connection to the Godzilla series.
Wait a minute. Is he Miyajima in the Japanese version and Iwamoto in the English version?
I think it's Moto, actually. I think I'm just mixing up my names. I think it's Miyamoto or Iamoto, something like that.
What's interesting is, as I predicted, all three of us have completely different episodes that find like our top three. And as Robert said, it's really hard because when you guys were mentioning your favorites, I'm like, oh yeah, that's good too.
Yeah.
They're all big, really. There's only a couple episodes that I wouldn't say are bad, but are less than great. And that's about as far as I can go. They're all pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a couple that I don't really watch on a regular basis. One of them.
Well, my weakest one, believe it or not, is the first episode. I think it just gets better from there. To me, the first episode is the weakest one, and every other episode gets better. to me.
I have a new love for the first episode. I used to not like it as much, but I like it for what it is, and I love the fact how they did the Ultraman is actually talking to Hayata, and
Oh, sure.
Bemler is not the coolest monster. Actually, Rich's X-Plus figure looks better than the suit does.
Probably.
But yeah, they definitely get better, and yeah, no, it's one of my least favorite episodes is the Gamakujira episode. I don't love that.
Yes. Well, it wouldn't be so bad. My biggest gripe with that episode isn't really the monster or the episode or the script. It's the fact that they marginalize Fuji's characters so much. Like, oh look, I'm a pandering female. I need my pearl. Oh yeah, there's some people who might get hurt too. But don't keep me away from those pearls, damn monster. I mean, it made her character seem even more superficial than it already was. She was already the go get my coffee Fuji, and then they brought this episode out. I'm like, really? That was what really bugged me. I'm like, oh come on. If she's good enough to be in the Science Patrol, I'm pretty sure she can do something other than get coffee.
What episode was it where she had a real bit more of a prominent role? I know, I forget which episode it was, but she was with Fushino, and they were in the hotel.
Oh, that was episode 4. Yeah.
Which episode?
Yeah. That was episode 4.
4?
With Ragon, with the looks like creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's right. Yep. Okay. I thought she had a pretty good role in that episode.
Yeah.
It was more
focused.
What
I actually found interesting about that episode is watch the beginning of the episode. I always bring this up, and I actually mentioned it to Masanari Nihei, who played Ide. Watch at the beginning. She says she has a date, and watch how irritated and upset Ide's character is. That made you think he had a thing for her. And it's not the first time. Like in the episode with the pearls, he's waiting on her hands and foot, carrying all her packages and stuff. Made you think he might have had a thing for her. And I asked him about it he was at a G Fest, and he sort of laughed. He's like, well, no, I don't think so. But he goes, that would have been a great idea. And I just love that. It's just those little things, they watch just, kind of stand out, just the little character bits. And,
well, the characters just worked so well together. I mean, they were all kind of archetypes,
Oh, sure, yeah.
And it was classic. You have your hero type, you have your comedy relief, you have your military, like go. Arashi. You have your stoic captain who has to have everything by the book. And then and then you have the ingenue, the female character, sort of holds everybody together. It just really worked on many levels, and the appeal, again, like I was the target audience when I saw it, and I just bought every second of it, and I remember being in trouble because I told my mother I am not eating dinner until this is over. Because when it played at like 4:30 or 5, and then we ate at 6, and if it was like, I'm like, nope, not yet.
Remember, listening audience, this is in the days before VCRs. So
long before VCRs.
We would miss it. So remember that, folks.
I used to record it with a tape recorder, with my father's tape recorder. So yeah, it definitely.
One thing I also really loved about the first series, especially, is how willing they were to take risks and have different types of stories. Some of them felt almost supernatural. Some of them were straight sci-fi. Episode 2, Ito breaks the fourth barrier. He's talking right to the audience. They did different things in different episodes. Some of them were more humorous. Other ones were more serious. They experimented.
I want to add to that experimenting. Towards the end of the show, there was a couple things that made me like, wow, I can't believe they did that. From what is Ito, Hayata, Fuji, Katamura. What's the other character's name?
Arashi.
Yeah, he got fired.
The gun bunny, yeah.
Yep. Harashi got fired. Harashi?
Arashi.
Arashi. I got to be working on my pronunciation. That's why I want to watch the show again. But he got fired, I think once. Ito got fired. Actually, and then Hayata actually hits Ito, and I'm like, wow, like he actually just whacked him, I'm like, so again, what you said, experimenting, taking risks, but you know what? Maybe I didn't agree with it, but it definitely got a reaction out of it. I'm like, oh, like, and I'm starting to think like they're that tight of a niche of a group that, hey, you get out of line, I'm gonna bitch smack you, and then I really felt bad about Ito because, going back to what David you were saying, a little bit of each character for, different personalities, and Ito had me laughing my ass off many times throughout the show. I loved watching the things he got himself into. He was like the Three Stooges combined into one for the show. Every time he hit his head, he's like, "Aye!" And just do all kinds of crazy scenarios. And he was also almost like the guinea pig for everything that like bad had to happen. Well, let's just send Ito in, let him go first, kind of mentality. But that's one thing, Rob. I think you said it too. Is that it wasn't just about the monsters and Ultraman fighting. They added to the story for every episode. What the things that they were getting into, trying to do, and on top of the action. So a good human cast is what will drive the show, I believe, on top of the monster action, because without a good human cast, there's nothing for us really to relate to.
Right.
So,
Well, the story was also.
Let me ask you this, Rich, because when Robert and I saw it for the first time, it was on television, and obviously it was dubbed into English.
Mhm.
Okay, that was my first experience. Was your first experience in English or Japanese?
For my first viewing, I wanted to watch it in English dub because I wanted to know what was going on. I will say I don't know if it's just my DVD copy of all the whole disc set, but sometimes the audio would go to Japanese, and then I'm like, oh, like what's going on?
There is a reason, because it was edited somewhat for television, so that's probably why.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
just it would just switch over to Japanese, and either sometimes the subtitles would kick on or they wouldn't. It wasn't a big deal. It really didn't take away from anything, but I think I'll probably watch it again in English dub, that way, because I really, really want to suck in more of the show, like like to the point that you guys are talking about the characters and the names of this. I see Michael Deak in the comment section. He's rolling off, all this awesome information, in the comments section about, the little tidbits of the show, and, I really want to absorb more of that. So I think
You should.
Go ahead, David.
No, I was going to say you should. The translation, the English translation is actually pretty spot on. It's not that different, because what I did is I actually watched the English dub. I'm sorry, I watched the Japanese version, including the English subtitles from the dub. So I watch it, and it's very similar. No, I'm sorry. I watched the English version with the English subtitles.
So
basically, it's the English dialogue with the Japanese translation subtitles.
Yeah.
And it's pretty close. It's not that far off. I mean, there's a little bit of difference in what Robert said too. The scenes that you're talking about, they actually edited them for American television.
Okay.
For example, this is a pretty interesting thing. The episode, Jiras episode with the Godzilla suit. When I saw it for the first time, Ultraman ripped off his frill, and then it cut the whole part where he's sort of doing the Matador act thing. That was all cut out in the American version when I saw it on television. I didn't see that until I got the disc as an adult, which is, I think they thought that maybe that was a little too cruel or something. I don't know what.
I think that was the idea.
And there was also a part cut out too in the Dada episode too. They cut that short too. The whole part where the Dada goes back after he gets his face damaged. He goes back and says, "Ultraman's too powerful. We have to stop." That whole part was cut out. That wasn't in the version that I saw as a kid. So to see that again, they actually did cut quite a bit out of it.
Hey, I don't mean to cut you off, Dave, but Vince Elliott, I hope you're watching. Guys, he was supposed to join us tonight, so because he's having technical difficulties with cameras or whatnot, he messaged me over Facebook, and his 3 favorite episodes would be Woo. That's with that's the Woo episode with
That
the
episode made me mad, but not because the episode was bad though. It was because they were so cruel to that girl.
Snow Girl, yeah.
I wanted to kill those guys.
His second would be, well, I don't know if these are in order, but the one with Keela and Saigo.
Oh, 38.
And then the episode with Jamila.
All of us have different episodes. That's so cool.
Those are Vince's, and he said, let's see, another crazy thing about the show, there's a ton of subtle adult themes. Suicide is even referenced in the Skydon episode where Ito watches a guy jump off a building yelling, "Don't kill yourself, too much life to live." So I did notice a little bit of that about adult themes throughout the show, and again, more of the reason why I want to go back and watch it again. So those were Vince's 3 favorite episodes.
Don't you guys find it interesting that all 4 of us, and I'm sure Andy too, if he was still on, would all choose different episodes as their favorites, and it's really interesting.
It just goes to show how much of appeal the show has to each person individually as to what really tickles and gets our taste buds going. So it's something I say in the hobby in general. There's something out there for everyone. So 39 episodes of Ultraman.
Oh, yeah.
But we're just 4 guys here, 4 or 5 of us just shooting the shit. I mean, again, Ultraman is something out there for everyone, just in the first show alone. So I will say I just thought about this. If I had to make an honorable mention for favorite episode, it would definitely be in the 2-parter with Gamora. What I liked about that is Gamora practically beat Ultraman in the first part of the 2-parter.
Special powers, I might add. He just beats them up.
Yeah, exactly. He is
strong and tough.
Yep, strong, brute. Kaiju. The miniature action, and the destruction scenes in the city were really, really well done, I think.
You're right.
Yeah,
that's almost like a mini movie. That's a mini movie right there.
Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest scene, cityscape. I could be wrong, but it looked like the biggest setup to me in that episode. And
Osaka Castle, Rich, where we were.
Exactly, I was gonna get to that. So I think I watched that episode. Obviously after we came home from Japan, so I'm sitting there on the couch with Jess. I'm like, Jess, look, like that's where we were. Good thing the monster didn't come when we were there, because that would have stunk. But so that was really cool to see that. Just to more put how we love our hobby, and then being in Japan. Rob, you were there too, so to see something from our genre and us actually being there, it's like, this is awesome. So that would be my favorite, my honorable mention, the episode with Gamora, the 2-parter.
That's a really good episode. I love that episode. And again, as I said before, that was my very first episode. And I started with that one, and so basically I went from there all the way around, and then the last episode I saw was the one right before that, which was the one with the comet. I think that was the one right before that. I think so.
Yeah, the comet was right before that.
So I went in that order to see the series, because it recycled itself again. And this is, again, I grew up in New Jersey, so the channel that I saw it on was Channel 17, which was a channel out of Philadelphia. Because lucky for me, I lived in an area that got New York, Philadelphia, and Delaware channels. So I got the horror movies from all 3 of those in my TV. So I was really lucky to see that. So yeah, I agree, Rich. That's an honorable mention for me.
Yeah.
Well, the Gamora episode, the other thing is, like, Gamora is the injured party here. It's like they kidnap him from his home, they drug him, they fly him in the air, then they drop him from a great height, and he wakes up. It's like, wow, that monster's sure angry. I was like, what do you expect? Like, I'd be wrecking cities too after all that. I'm like, come on. Like, that's kind of just
I think all of us as kaiju fans sort of identify with Hajime, the Monster Prince. I mean, we were all that kid. Well, I know I was that kid. All I would do was draw when I was in elementary school. I draw monsters all the time, you know.
Yep.
And so basically, I identified with that kid for sure, you know. And that's another reason I really like that episode too, because that kid was us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether we wanted to know that was us. To have the masks and the toys. I mean, that kid was us.
Yeah, I was actually nicknamed Monster Man in grade school.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Thanks for reminding me of that.
All right. Vince's honorable mention would be the episode with Aunt Lar. That was honorable mention.
Okay, that's two that for Aunt Lar. Okay. All right.
Yep. All right. So before we move on to collectibles and other awesome stuff, because I have some things I want to show off other than toys. Anything else we want to add on about the show before we start talking about the freshness here?
I'm going to excuse myself for just a second. So.
Sure. I will say for anyone who's had like any misgivings about this show, you know, you're into Godzilla, but you're like, I don't know. There's just so much tying it in. Like, if you love the Showa films, you will like Ultraman.
Yep.
I can't see it. You know, that was one of the things, you know, as an adult that I now appreciate on. You know, I can watch this episode. Oh, there's Akiko Wakabayashi. There's Susumu Fujita. Oh, look, they're using the sound effects from, you know, it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's literally like it's the lost Toho films, you know, all in a.
That's exactly what I said, you know, when I first started watching Ultraman. As like I remember telling a couple friends, you guys, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching a lost Toho movie, you know. And again, adding on to what you said, some people might not get it. You know, sit down, watch the show, and know that it's 30-minute episodes. You know, don't sit down thinking that you're going to get like an hour and a half, 90-minute like style Godzilla film that we're used to show-wise. But it's 30 minutes of pure nostalgia to me, you know, seeing it, you know, in recent times. But it's 39 short stories, Showa style, stuff that, you know, when you hear it, you see it, you can relate to it, especially like Rob, like you said, if you're a fan of the show stuff, you know, you will not go wrong with Ultraman. Oh, I love it. And that was it. Like, as soon as I put the first episode on, you know, within the first 2 minutes or so, it was like, you know, bait, line, and sinker, and I was hooked, you know. And then going to Japan, it was like you just pulled me in even more and consumed in the freshness I have become with Ultraman.
So many of the monster designs, especially on this first show, are so good. It's like, you know, they really hold the test. I mean, Gamora, Dada, you know, even Zaraga. So, I mean, there's so many of them that, like, those designs are like, that's really, really good.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, it would, and, you know, they could be in their own movie. They just weren't. They're just on the show. And it just, you know, the craftsmanship that we appreciated from Toho Studios is present in this show.
Yep.
You know, and that's what I think makes it so strong.
It's carrying over from the golden age of Toho. So there's a lot of that awesomeness going on. Another thing, you know, you guys were talking about experimental. Some of the soundtrack is pretty groovy and experimental.
Oh yeah. No, the Ultraman has a great sound.
Great stuff going on in the soundtrack too. So if you dissect it as an adult, there's a lot of things that are awesome about it. But if you use, you know, suspension of disbelief and watch it from a child's perspective, it's awesome too. And I'm lucky enough to see it from both sides, and it's really great. I mean, there's a couple people who I know just started getting into it. Rich is one of them. Cody Roberts just started getting into Ultraman the last couple of years, and I know he really likes it too. And what's awesome about Cody is he's introducing it to his son, who's really digging it, and that made me so happy that a kid of this generation can appreciate, you know, something that's not CGI and like Transformers or Pacific Rim or that kind of thing, which is fine. But this is a whole different ball of wax, and this is what started it all. And this is what inspired those people to make those films. And, you know, I got to say, you know, James Hartman, a buddy of ours, is tried to watch it a couple of times, a couple false starts, and he's not really feeling it. But I really think eventually he's gonna watch it and sort of, you know, click in and say, yeah, I kind of dig this. So James, if you're listening, and I think you are, give it another shot. One more shot for Uncle Dave.
One more shot.
Right? Okay? And it makes me so happy that Rich really is seeing it, and your story about how, you know, you're seeing it from a child's perspective and everything. I love that. And you're treating it as a lost show film that you never got to see that now you're seeing. So anyway, it's a silly, dumb show. A lot of people aren't going to get it, but for those of us who do get it, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty fun, and you know, I'm 50, but I still see things as a kid in a lot of ways, and I don't think I'll ever grow up in that respect, and I'm proud of that.
See, that's important. You know, it's not a dumb show. Don't ever say that. I know you don't believe that.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean,
it's a simple, fun, entertaining show, and one thing I try to do with everything I do is go into whatever it is that we're going into, be it, you know, something related to the hobby or something else in the real world out there. No expectations, because if you go in with a clear mind, not expecting anything, you know, because if you go in with expectations, then you're going to start like poisoning your mind into thinking it should be something that it's not, instead of taking it for what it is, you know. So go put Ultraman on, go sit down, don't expect nothing, and just enjoy it for what it is. Take it for what it is, and I really don't see how somebody can't enjoy it. So that's
I don't either.
The fun part.
It's fun. It's absolutely pure fun.
Okay, let's talk collectibles. I'm going to show off something first, and then I'll move on to you guys, and then, you know, I'll start talking about my crazy excursion here with the toys. But I wanted to show, where are they? So, in Monster Mania, in August of 2015, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Bin Furuya. Furuya. Everybody, you know, correct me in the comment section. Thanks. So I got this awesome autograph by Ultraman himself. So that's really neat. I'm happy I got that. You know, after I watched the show and I realized I am more ecstatic that I have this now than when I got it. You know, because I have so much more appreciation for Ultraman, and the fact that I got to meet Bin Furuya was awesome. And then
this year's G-Fest.
Yes, he will. He will be at G-Fest. Ultraman will be at G-Fest. And
Along
then
also with
Akira Takarada and Fuji. Fuji, that's right.
Sakurai.
There you go.
Hiroko Sakurai, yes. I'm stoked. I'm dying.
And then we got these whiteboards also, and it has Godzilla vs. Ultraman because Haru Nakajima and Bin Furuya were at Monster Mania, so this is awesome. And then
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, hopefully these will be at G-Fest. If not, you got to get to another event that they're going to be at, and they do these. But yeah, really awesome. And they have their stamps. We went over this on another episode earlier about these are their family stamps, or you know, it's more important than their actual signature. These stamps here. And I'm going to save getting Fuji's autograph for G-Fest. So not too long ago, Mr. Awesome John Stanowski was able to get some awesome autographs, which you can check out on Flozzie'sGifts.com. And I picked up this awesome Hayata picture, which I really, really dig this. I like that the autograph is along the side.
That's great.
Yep, and then let me put this down carefully so I'm not spaz. And then I have this one here, Fushino. It's that one with the gun, which is really neat. So that is my Ultraman autograph stuff, which is
freaking awesome.
Yeah, one day when we get a house, hopefully we're gonna have a house this summer. I really think I want to build some kind of shadow box style frame with these pictures in there, you know, and make it really look classy, you know. But I'm gonna have some kind of display for these, and any other ones I get So that will be something to look forward to.
That's great.
So those are my autographs. I have a bunch of other stuff, but that's Godzilla related. So, toys. David, what do you got? Lay it on.
Well, why don't you let Robert go, because I have to grab 2 more toys. So hold on. Robert, why don't you go next?
We'll wait here. Robert's going to go now.
Okay, where should I start?
Whatever you want to talk about.
Well, if you want to get into Ultraman collecting, there's good news and bad news. Good news is there is a lot of available product.
Let me cut you off.
Prices.
I'm having deja vu.
The bad news is if you're a completist, there is a lot of merchandise.
Yes, there is.
I would say for people who are wanting to start a collection and not get too heavily invested money-wise, hit up Bandai's 500 series collection. That shows a ton of Ultra Monsters from various different shows. They're about 5 inches tall, but they're pretty good, and they're very inexpensive. Now, for the X-Plus collectors out there, of course, there's an example of a 500 series figure. That is
Ultraman Jack.
That is
Or the brother.
That's Sophie.
That is
Sophie.
Zophie, yes.
Zophie.
He's got the insignia, yeah.
Sophie. He's Ultraman's boss, as it were.
Now, a lot of the Ultra figures come in in variants. Like this is a Rain X Burst Gamora, so they just like the Godzilla and Toho figures. Bandai has different colors, translucent. There's a translucent Dada and Zeton and tons of other ones. Bandai also they very briefly created a highly detailed series. They only made 3 figures. They made Red King, Zeton, and Dodongo here. And these, of course, are more detailed than the standard figures.
They also made a
really nice. I actually picked up this one in Japan, but there was only 3 of them made, 3 different characters. And,
no, they also did a Red King.
Well, yeah, they did Red King, Zeton, and Dodongo here, and this one I picked this up in Japan actually, and they're not even really that expensive. I think you can pick up even off of Yahoo Japan probably about $30 or so, but well worth it for a nice Bandai figure.
They're awesome. They're almost X-Plus quality. They're really good.
For those, yeah, it's a pity they did so few of them.
How would it be if they did the entire series? That would be sweet.
Right. Well, you also got here's a Band Presto figure. Band Presto is a subsidiary of Bandai. They tend to make bigger figures though. This is actually, I think this is Garamon / Pigman. It's the same suit, so whatever floats your boat. But Band Presto tends to make bigger figures. They have a great series of Ultramans of various different types, and but they're large, like probably foot tall, 1.5 tall, and reasonably inexpensive. They're usually under $40. CCP also makes very good ones. This is a CCP Gamora, or I'm sorry, not Gamora. This is Gyros. Gyros, of course, very nicely detailed. Honestly, it's good enough that if I had said it's X-Plus, people probably would have believed me, but this is a different company. And,
where's his rock, Robert?
What?
Where's his rock?
His rock is in the other room because the rock, unfortunately, in this figure tends to fall out of his hands a lot. So I sort of set it aside because it was bugging me, and I didn't want it to get lost. Here's another example of CCP. This is actually Gabora from Episode 9, which is a variation of the Baragon suit, one of the many, with a different head. This is he's actually got his grill on, his little helmet shield. What I love about this is if you look really closely inside, the details of the head inside are all done, even though this doesn't open. That's how detailed they went into it. So yeah, CCP. Again, something like this would probably be between, say, anywhere from $70 to $100 for something like this from CCP. And of course, we always have good old Billiken. I know David's very familiar with this one.
Yep.
Yes, he's very familiar with this since he painted it. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Billikens tend to be not quite as detailed as X-Plus, but they tend to be larger. Like this one is pretty large, actually. It's bigger than the comparable X-Plus figure. These, of course, are kits, so they don't come pre-painted. But these do have some articulation, so you can see his, that moves, and I believe his jaw moves. Yeah, jaw moves. So
does it have any gaps?
Articulation. Yeah, he's badass. Love him. I think that's it for my for Billiken. Of course, I got tons of X-Plus, and even though I know I'm not going to steal Rich's thunder too much, but I love this is one of my favorite guys. I would think for Gold Kaiju. This for trivia, this is actually the first episode I ever saw. It was episode 29, very first episode I started. So yeah, I started way late in the series and I had to re-loop to see the rest. This is actually an X-Plus 30 centimeter giant series. Yes, they do a giant series in the Ultra figures too. They have a large series which is 25 centimeters, and then this would be from the giant series, which there's far fewer of them, but this is like their 30 centimeter scale basically.
He's cool. I like him.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a thing for Gold Kaiju, and I like his look in the show too, even though he's pretty wimpy. But for some reason, he's cool on the show. Kind of different. Plus, he's a quadruped. Yeah, quadrupeds. There's so few quadrupeds on the show sometimes. So when they get good ones, you kind of remember them. And he's a pretty good one. So definitely like him. And then from one of my favorite episodes, Geronimo. I remember the story behind this one is I got him very cheaply, but I had to basically he's missing one feather, which really irritates me. He's missing one white feather, but otherwise he's pretty good. I need to there we go. There's a better trying to get a good view of him. Yeah, but yeah, this is another X-Plus. This would be the 25 centimeter large series scale. These are older. They have the reborn ones, which they haven't done a reborn version of him yet.
Wait, but isn't that technically part of the same? It's not a reborn, but it
yeah.
He's gone along.
I think he's in the same scale. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, he's just not reborn.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a reborn version of him.
I think he looks great. I don't know how they can improve him. He looks pretty good.
See,
yeah, he definitely does. But
if I can interject, I think what is considered reborns are the figures that were done in the blister packs when X-Plus started with Ultraman, because the non-reborns were points of articulation in some spots. They were smaller, like Bemlar, for instance. This is a reborn, but it's also in the same scaling as your Geronimo right there. The boxes are all the same labeling, same boxes, same style and everything, where the blister pack ones were those were the basic, at the time. So once X-Plus refined their sculpting, their detailing, they changed the boxes, came more square like we're used to seeing now. So I think like Geronimo, he's technically in that reborn line per se,
Right. Yeah, it's definitely they use the same, and you'll recognize the boxes, the same boxes they use for the Godzilla figures.
But the reborns, I think, were only the dubbed reborns for ones that were already done prior, to their refined 25 centimeter lineup.
To Rich's point, here's an example of one of the older blister figures. Notice the articulation. His mouth opens. His arms move, his legs move, even his foot sort of goes side to side even. So you get a fair amount of articulation on the tail. The older figures tend to have...
It's a great figure.
Even his head moves side to side. So there's a fair amount of articulation on these, which is different from the newer figures, which we're all familiar with, are more statue-like. It's really hard to say which is better. I mean, it's really all personal preference, but I mean, I have no problem with this figure at all. This is probably one of my first X-Plus figures that I got from the series. It was just Pestar. even though the episode isn't great, I gotta love this kaiju. I mean, the imagination to think up this thing, it's like sort of a starfish, but yet not really, and it's obviously two guys in a suit, but yeah, look, there's that funky bat head in the middle. Like, what's this all about? It's like, who thought this up? But somehow you watch the episode and you don't really think about like the ridiculousness of this design. You're just like, oh, it's a cool monster, and it sort of works.
It does work. Absolutely.
I mean, I love the design of this thing, even though it's like totally weird. I love it, and this was one of the first figures I ever received, actually, because it was given to me as a gift.
Nice.
And I love it. So I think that's all. I've got more, but I'm sure David and Rich want to show off their wares.
Wait. Well, let me ask you a question. You said how many Bandai figures do you have? 500 to 600?
I would say Ultra figures, I probably have 500 to 600 because, remember, I collect from all the Ultra shows. So take every monster that was ever in all those shows, Return of Ultraman, Ultra 7, Ultraman Gaia, all the new ones, all the Ultra movies, Ultraman Taro, Ace. So there's a lot of monsters there.
I'm pretty sure I just heard everybody that's watching, they said they want to see one group shot of all of them together.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
I don't even have them all out, but I'll tell you what.
I'm interested in seeing that.
I'll post it to Facebook because all the monsters are in the monster room, which is the adjoining room.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll post it to Facebook. Promise.
Good.
I have before. So.
Mike Russo, he is
yes,
also.
Yes. Mike, I think, probably puts me to shame, but yeah, he's got a ton. He actually takes better care of them because I don't keep my tags. So yeah, all you tag lovers, you probably hate me. I know. I'm terrible. But yeah, I've got a ton. And well, early on, back in the 90s when I wasn't making as much money, this is a good way to build a collection. I could pick up Bandai's, the 6-inch Bandai's for $10 or less a piece. Of course, I'm going to be grabbing those suckers up. And that's just the way it is. And then, of course, now I've kind of graduated to more expensive stuff, and so I get less quantity-wise, but I get bigger figures.
Yeah.
So, it's like, okay, now my problem is these things are so big, I'm finding myself boxing up older Bandai figures, put them in a box so I can fit this on a shelf. So, because I'd say a third of what I have Bandai-wise is in a box right now, which is, I don't know, David probably has that problem too. It's like you only have so much space in the room.
I do. Absolutely do.
And yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. But yeah, I mean, after, let's see, 91, it's 2016. Yeah, 25 years of picking up figures. Yeah, you pick up a lot of them.
Nice.
But, I'm sort of reasonably new to X-Plus, so I think I'm only in the 50 or 60 figure range now. So
only.
Here. Only, yes. So.
All right, David, you're up.
Well, I'm going to save the X-Plus for you since you're in the room right now, and you've just got them recently, but I do have to say that I have every single X-Plus 25 centimeter kaiju that they came out with, so I'm stoked for that. And you all know what I was jonesing for the longest time, because X-Plus, in their wisdom, decided to make every kaiju except for one. And then finally, last year, was it last year?
After all the death threats.
Last year.
It
The
came
end
out.
of last year. Rich, you have them handy?
Oh, I thought you were. Yeah, I'll pull them up. I thought you were going to show yours. That's why I didn't pull
No,
mine.
mine's downstairs in the kaiju room. This chocolate fish-faced son of a bitch was the last one that they finally made to complete the whole series of the first 39 episodes. So yes, just got him. I think it was December. It was December that he came out. So thank you, X-Plus. Now I have every single 25 centimeter kaiju in the first series. I have not gone on to 7 or Jack or Ace or any of that, which is very tempting, but I don't want to go down that road. So Rich can concentrate on X-Plus. This is something that I just finished. This is actually one of the newer Billikens. This is the Billiken Judas 30 centimeter figure. And model kit I built and painted. And I know Vince Elliott just also built and painted his too. Excuse me. Beautiful figure, really fun to build. A little challenging when it comes to putting the frill on, but great, great, great figure. A lot of fun. Kind of a couple points of articulation, mouth moves, and blah blah blah. Yes, Billiken Girasse, great. CCP, as Robert said, came out with a couple of cool kaiju. This is the CCP Coronia, which is pretty awesome, and I gave him a little extra paint job. Dulled him up a little bit from the factory paint.
I need one of him.
What's that? Yeah, you do need one of him.
One of him.
Pretty cool. And then this is one of the very first Billiken kit that I got in the Ultra series was the Ultraman Red King. And actually got him at Chiller Theater circa 1992 or 3 when it used to be in Rutherford, New Jersey. I know some of you guys remember that back in the day. But yeah, I got him for like, it was a really terrible paint job. I got him for like $30 back in the day, built, and I repainted him myself. So, and then autograph-wise, these are two of my prized possessions. M1 Hayata, signed on the back. I don't know if you guys can kind of see that a little bit.
Yep.
And then this is the Marmot Akio Fuji, also signed on the back.
Very neat.
Which are two of my favorite things, and I can't wait to someday meet them in person. These were not signed. I didn't hand them over and had them sign them in person. These are, I bought these on eBay, and I love them anyway. But I'm stoked to meet Fuji in person over the summer.
I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Literally cannot wait.
It's going to be really one of the checklists of my.
Exactly. And I have a book that has the cast of the show, the Science Patrol, with a picture. And as I meet them, I've been having them sign that picture, so their names are like all around the cast photo.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
I have Ide, Ben Furuya, that unfortunately Captain Muramatsu, the actor, is deceased. So that would be a little difficult, but all the others are still alive, so hopefully we can get them all over here at some point.
The only downside, as Rich can tell you, is starting to be a fan of the Ultra series, is you're going to start buying toys.
Oh, yes.
And it's inevitable, and again, you can do either you can start with the Bandai line, if you're on a budget and you want to start small. You can do some of the older X-Plus figures, and you can do the Reborns. But again, once you get hooked on the show, you're going to want to start buying figures. So that's just inevitable, and that's one of the side effects of liking that show and being collectors as we all are. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I didn't have any Ultra toys when I was a kid. There was nothing that existed. I think the first Ultraman toy I bought was actually. What's that?
I'm sorry, David. Do you remember the Godzilla gang?
I do, but I didn't.
Those monsters were Ultra monsters.
They were, but they
I
weren't.
actually had those as a kid, and I somehow didn't ever keep them. I was like, no. But
they weren't from the first series, Robert. They were from some of the older ones, right?
Yeah, they weren't from the first series, but they were all there. There was Godzilla, and then there were some of the Ultra monsters. Most of them were from 7 and Return of Ultraman.
Oh, wait a minute. They had a Girasse, didn't they? They did.
Yeah. Although I don't know if we saw that one here.
I think he had a horn. I think he was incorrect. I think they put something on him that wasn't supposed to be. I might be wrong, but I think that it was a little off. It wasn't exactly right. But growing up, I had nothing. And then when I moved to New York City in the late 80s, early 90s, I saw the Bandai figures in a little shop on Bleecker Street called Children of Paradise. And I started to buy as you did, and many of us did, the Ultraman Bandai series. They were like, $8 a piece or less. And
that price. So.
And then there was a shop in Edgewater, New Jersey, called Pony Toy Go Round.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Quite a few. There's one in LA too, I think. They had quite a few Bandai figures, and they used to have these racks, supermarket racks, and they'd all be hanging, and you could spin it around. They'd have all the Ultraman monsters on it. and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And they were like, $6 or $7 a piece back in the day, which is pretty cool. But yeah, no, they're great fun. As Robert said, Billikens are a good way to start getting a realistic one that's not super expensive, but they are kits. You have to build and paint them. Although they do have some that are pre-painted that you just have to build. but yeah, there's quite a few Ultra toys out there, and I think one of the things that I found in Japan last December was in the Mandarake in Osaka. There was a little resin pre-painted mummy from the Dodongo episode, which I picked up, and it's pretty cool. So that was one of the things that actually got.
Well, that's the thing. There isn't too many toys or figures of that mummy, though.
There's not.
I
So
wouldn't want to get one, but they're not common.
There's a one that comes with the Rick version of the Dodongo figure.
Yeah, I don't have that figure, so.
Big Pilot Ace, which I have downstairs, which is really cool. And then there's that little figure that I have, and maybe one or two other. I think there's a high-grade capsule toy of the mummy I have somewhere too. But that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a pretty obscure little kaiju, but anyway, that's it. Rich, why don't you take away and do your X-Plus?
All right, so wow, that's all I'm going to say. First, for starters. I will say that one of the reasons I did not want to get into watching Ultraman because, first and foremost, I am a collector. Like we can all relate with that. David, you said it before. If you watch the show, and being a collector, you're gonna want to collect the figures. So that was that was probably the biggest reason why I didn't want to watch the show, because I was afraid I was gonna like it. And and then it was going to lead me to buying the figures. And let's see, in 2014, I think I bought a couple Ultraman figures. I bought two Type Bs, and then I got the Type C. I actually bought the Type C Ultraman pose on a previous episode of Fresh Vinyl Live. I actually went and pre-ordered it off a hobby surge while we were live.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I never got around to taking it out of the packaging, so it's in storage right now with two more Type Bs and Jiras. So I got to get them out so they can join their family back and down, below me here.
Wait, hold on a minute. Didn't you have a bet with somebody? You gonna get to that?
I'll tell her right now. So I had started collecting just a handful of Ultraman figures, just because I should have just at least a couple. And then I remember Jiras was on eBay, and someone was like, "Oh, you got to get it because it's technically Godzilla." I'm like, "All right, I'll get it." And then Tim Crane, he was like, "I'm gonna he made a bet with me. We made a bet that if I had more than 5 Ultra Kaiju, and we said whether they be aliens or Kaiju, it didn't matter, Ultra figures, then I would buy all his drinks at G-Fest." So it just so happened that I did not go down the rabbit hole then, to the point where, I was going to lose that bet. But if that bet was still valid right now... Well, we said Ultra Kaiju, not Ultraman himself. So I only had Jiras at the time. So that was it. I only had one. So if that bet was still valid, I'd be screwed. Totally screwed, because that little bastard can drink real good at G-Fest. Now, can we, Mr. Tim Crane? If he's watching this, doing his good school shit that he's out there becoming a lawyer, and he's going to be the Kaiju lawyer. That's what I'm calling it. So, I got into Ultraman. I already mentioned this before. We went to Japan. We went to X-Plus HQ. I bought Dada, and the floodgates were just bursted open. I bursted the floodgates open. It's like parting the Red Sea. So, how? So I'm going to share my screen because all my figures that I have at the moment are below me on the 2 shelves. And it would just be kind of crazy for me to point my camera down at the screen. So I'm going to try to get my pictures up here if my computer wants to function. Give me a second. It's not working. It never works when you want it to work. So we were in Japan. I bought Dada, and then I came home and, plain and simple, I went ape shit with X Plus figures. My computer's not working here. So I went on Yahoo Japan, and I just hunted. I hunted, and I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, the time is to do it now. You know, no messing around. I'll buy ones that at least I know that are within a price range that was willing to spend money on. My first batch of figures that I won within the month of December, I think I bought like 12 of them. And I really wish my screen share would work right now, but it's not cooperating. So I bought like 12. I went ape shit. They came in one big massive box. You can check out that box day. It's a separate video. You know, I'm sitting there for like 20 minutes just taking figures out of the box, and it's just ridiculous. The box is like the size of my wife. You know, probably put her in it, and, you know, she'd be like an awesome box day for me or whatever. So it was just ridiculous. You know, as of right now, I only need, I think, maybe 9 more figures to finish the X Plus 25 centimeter Ultraman line.
And what are you missing? I thought you had one of everybody right now.
Not yet. No. I need the Dango, which I've you know, there's one on Mandarake. If someone wants to go buy it, it's like 50,000 yen, which is like $500. It's a Rick 2 with the Mummy Man. I'm not comfortable with dropping that much money.
Yeah.
Not right now.
I would pay 3 for that.
Yeah, the last one that I was bidding on Yahoo Japan went for 36,000 yen, which is about $350, give or take. So I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to be too silly with my spending.
You'll find one.
Yeah, I'm in really no rush right now, but I need the Dango. I need Zaragas. Zaragas. I missed an auction on Yahoo Japan, so I'm like, it's fine. I really need to take a break, and then I'll get back on the train in a little bit. I need
great figure, by the way. Really good one.
Yeah, you know, it really does look awesome. I need Wu. I need Red King 2. I need Dorako. I need
which one or two?
Which one?
There's 2 Dorakos. You need Dorako 1 or Dorako 2?
Both of them. You know, you need both of them. And then I keep seeing it pop up here and there. You know, so I'm okay. I got to take a break for right now.
Yeah, I saw some Dorakos when I was in Japan, but they were really expensive. So,
yeah.
So I didn't end up picking them up, even though I wanted one. But I was amazed at the price, considering they were older figures.
I need that. I need Red King 2. Skydon. I've missed out on Skydon. So if anybody out there is picking up the 30 centimeter CCP Skydon, which looks really, really good, and you have a 25 centimeter Skydon, you want to sell it? Me over here. You know, I'll take it off your hands. With that said, I'm only limiting myself to the 25 centimeter series. I'm really trying to discipline myself because, you know, it really could get out of hand if I start going with different sizes. I will say I ended up picking up one of the larger Mephilius. Did I pronounce it right? Mephilas. I thought it was a 25 centimeter, but it's a 30 centimeter. But I'm really happy with that. I don't mind that it's bigger, you know, but I'm trying not to be a stickler about it. You know, someone asked me, he's like, how did you go get all these figures so fast? So I'll tell you, you know, I had about 11 X Plus Dragon Ball Z figures. And I stopped collecting that line because they were just really, really big. And, you know, my heart wasn't with them as my heart is with Kaiju and Godzilla-related collectibles. So I'm like, you know what? We got home from Japan, and I managed to sell with the exception of one, all of my Dragon Ball Z figures for about $1,000 to one buyer. So it made it real easy for me to get rid of them in one sale. So that went to, you know, a good chunk of X Plus Ultraman figures. So, you know, and I didn't really call out last year from work. So if I don't use my sick time, I get paid for it at the end of the year. So I got a whole week's worth of pay for unused sick time. And I was like, I didn't get sick. I'm going to use that money to benefit my addiction here. So
That's
that went towards, so that went towards all these Ultraman figures. And then, I'm still selling stuff. I'm selling stuff that I don't need, so that's going to replace. I'm taking old vinyl and making it new vinyl. So I'm trying to be smart about it. David, you practice that kind of mentality. So, getting into this line, I mean, with all the X-Plus figures is what? I think close to 50 Ultraman figures. We're talking about thousands of dollars. So I wanted to be smart about it because I know just from collecting X-Plus for 3 years, it can get out of hand stupidly fast. And I'm trying to keep my eye on smart, buy smart. I've seen some figures go over $300 and I stayed away from them. I think my most expensive purchase was Coronia, which he cost me, damn, Antler always falls down. This one cost me about, I think, it was almost $300, and I really, really wanted this one, and I didn't think I was going to see him, but he popped up, and I'm like, damn it, must have. So,
Great.
I won the auction. I think it was about $250 at the end of the day, so I've been trying to spend smart, and whatnot. So I have all of them on shelves behind me. You can't really see them, but they're over here and over there. Well, we'll do a video about that in some other point in the future. But I love the figures. Something, Robert, you made me think about when you were talking before about the different kaijus is I love, the figures themselves, the kaiju themselves together. They are so different from Godzilla kaiju. We're talking crazy colors, crazy designs. There's something different about every one of them, even though there's some of the suits are reused. I think, Naranga, the Baragon suit, that was used 3 different times. With Naranga, Magalar, and where's the other one? Oh, I have Gabora. So that was a Baragon suit used 3 times in the show. But all these different monsters, they're all so different. The colors are they're popping. I mean, from Shibozu to Dada, they're black and white. But then you go over to Gyango, he's got all these crazy rainbow colors going on. Petastar, even it's like we have our own version of Hedra in out of Greenmons. So I was like, that would be a cool crossover. So that's something I wish I had my Hedra figure for X-Plus week right now. But I love them all. I mean, it's just ridiculous how many figures there are in this line. And some people ask me, oh, am I going to go into Ultra 7 and et cetera, et cetera. John Bumpus, happy birthday today, silly, by the way. He's the one, he said, oh, you got to check out Meebus. And I'm like, if I go into another show, what's going to happen? I'm going to want to collect more toys. So I'm going to really need to discipline myself when it comes to watching another show.
It can be done, Rich, because I watched the other series, and I have not yet, sort of crossed that line into buying figures from other shows. It's just a slippery slope, man, because once you get one,
you got to get them all.
Because there's some cool 7 monsters, there's some cool Return of Ultraman monsters. There's some cool Ace monsters and Taro monsters, but I just can't do it. It's just not something that... I mean, Vince Elliott has quite a few. He's got some really cool monsters.
Yeah.
But I don't know how he does it. I'm sticking to the only one. I do have some Ultra Q critters, though. A couple of those. A couple of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm of course spread out all over the place, but of course I'm super disciplined, so I buy sporadically when I know I can, and so I usually do all right. But I got stuff from all the shows. It just if it appeals to me quite a bit, I'll pick it up, or if it's a bargain and I want it, I'll grab it. But even with the Ultra Monsters, I generally pick the ones I really want.
That's something I was.
Have you guys been seeing or interested in those Ultraman reimagined figures like the Benoir by Paul Komoda?
Yeah, I do like
remix series.
I will freely admit I do not like the Bemular monster, but I do like the Bemular reimagined. He's pretty cool.
I want that's actually a really cool figure.
The Duraco might be worth it as well, from what I saw.
Fantastic.
The others I'm not too interested in. It's kind of like hit and miss. Some of them are okay. Some of them like okay. Like Dada. There was nothing particularly wrong with the reimagined version, but it's not Dada to me. You know,
Yeah.
Dada is the one from the 66 show. That's Dada to me. And you know,
Have you seen the Astromons? That's beautiful.
the Astromons is really good. You know, again, kind of hit and miss. Sometimes they knock it out of the park. Sometimes I'm like, eh. You know, and so that makes it easy. You know, if I'm just on it, then I'm probably going to skip it.
Yeah, that's a good way to be.
I'm not really a completionist, so you know, if it's not calling my name, you know, I'm like, all right, moving on. You know, it's like it's cool. I'll admire the pictures that someone else shows me, and that'll be that. You know, I wouldn't mind picking up the Bemular or the Astromons at some point, though. Those were both really good.
The only thing Ultraman I'm a completionist is the first 39 episodes, 25 centimeter. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. And that's enough.
Yeah, it is. That's something that you really rubbed off on me.
In that first show. Some of the episodes have multiple monsters. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, Monster Lawless Zone. I mean, I'm like, oh, we're talking what 5? Ultraman, Red King, the other 2, I can't remember the names. Magalar, Pagos, and then Pigmon. So I'm like, when I made a checklist on Excel, and I'm like, I'm looking at it.
That's Chandler. He's got ears.
Chandler. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Ultra Q, but
it's the same suit.
Yeah,
it's the exact same suit.
I made up a checklist. I made up a checklist, and I looked at it, I'm like, holy shit, this is a lot of freaking figures I got to hunt down. But now that I'm looking at it, because every one that I got, I put in, I highlighted green. So now that it's pretty much 95% green, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty disturbing too at the same time. David, you remember this one?
Did I give that to you?
You gave
That's
this
awesome.
to me.
When did I give that to you? That's pretty cool.
I think when I bought your one of your Desugoji marmots.
And I gave it as an extra special guest prize?
Yup.
He's cool.
And then then I have this one, which is really neat.
Oh, that one. I got him. He's great.
I have that. I don't think I have anything else obscure. I will say that I do have. Actually, I got a request shipping for it. The Mummy Man. I have the Pilot Ace Mummy Man coming. I'll give a shout out to.
Really good price, didn't you?
4,000 yen. So with the because I used the third party service off of Yahoo Japan. So after the fees and the shipping to the United States, it was $60. So I just got to request shipping, one more shipping fee. So we're probably looking at maybe $70 to get the figure to my door from Japan.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Ryan Mitchell actually tipped me off to it. There was one day on GCG we were talking about Ultraman stuff and whatnot, and he had posted his along with some other 30-centimeter figures, and we were talking about something. I forget, kits or whatnot or the other. So he put the link into this, in a chat for me, and he says he's like, buy it. And I looked at it, I'm like, ooh, that's really awesome. And then I remember seeing your pictures, David. So I probably debated about getting it for a couple, like maybe 2 weeks, and I was like, the hell with this, I'm getting it. I mean, I really can't go wrong with that price. And it's big, too. So once I bought that, I'm like, you know what? If I can't get the Rick the Dongo, then at least I'll still have Mummy Man. And
Yep.
Yeah, and what I like about it is it's big. It's a 30-centimeter scale. And
it's nice. It's a nice
I can't wait to get it because he is, like you were saying before, he's creepy. And he really is creepy. That episode with him, just walking through that hospital and everything, that was really creepy. So I'm excited to get that. But I don't have any other Ultraman-related stuff, I don't think, other than what I have behind me. So that really wraps up my Ultraman stuff.
Wait a minute. I have my Science Patrol pin. Can you guys see?
Yeah, Mr.
I need one of those. I keep, I periodically want that, and I sort of look at it and I forget about it, and then someone shows it to me again, and I want it again. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I need one of those. Thanks, David.
I will say that I love the Rick light-ups on some of these figures. This Ultraman Type A I have here, he lights up. Well, the eyes light up, and then the...
Fantastic. I have him. I really want to get him.
Yeah, and then you switch the switch, and his it blank. Why can't I remember right now? His time. What is the button? The thing in the middle? Crap.
In
So bad.
Japanese, they call it the color timer,
The timer.
and in English, it's the warning light. So
Well, yeah, his warning light. I'm trying to think, if there was a specific.
wait, hold on. Here it is. The tremendous energy Ultraman gets from the sun diminishes rapidly in Earth's atmosphere. The warning light begins to blink.
Warning light.
If it should stop completely, it will mean Ultraman will never rise again.
There you go. That's what it is. The warning light. So I love that.
They call it the color timer.
Timer.
Color timer.
I do have the Rick Zeton, which is really awesome because that lights up and everything too.
Yeah, I have the standard. The Rick is pretty cool.
Do I have any light up ones? No, that's it. So I will say I will be adding all these figures to my website. I'm going to make like a little database page on. Well, it's already there. It's just I need to add everything on freshfinalhq.com. Shameless plug. Robert, I know you just. Go ahead.
Your Dada that you picked up in Japan, doesn't it come with 2 alternative heads? Also?
Yes, I have.
Oh yeah. Because he had like 3 different faces. It was really weird.
See, that's one of my regrets. I only have the standard version without the micronizer and without the alternate head. So that's
he comes with the 2 other heads. Those got the different looks. Sorry, it's a little whited out.
Great Rick bonus. You get the gun and the 2 heads.
Yeah, and you also get the extra hands. The arms to go on.
You can't go wrong there. That's
no,
like a great
so
Rick.
I mean, I really. This is one of the things I was mentioning before is what I love about these Ultraman figures is that they're so different from each other. So I'm like, to have a figure holding a gun, I'm like, yeah, that's the way I'm gonna have them displayed with a micronizer. So.
Did you guys ever see they came out with a special edition Dada that has the damaged face?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I was very close to buying that too, but I was like, limitations.
Yeah, I almost pulled the trigger on that one many times, but I figured no, I better not. But it's pretty
Ironically
neat.
enough, that one usually is easier and cheaper to acquire than the one that Rich has. Yeah.
You know what? You got me thinking about it. I'm going to go check and see if it's still where I saw it, and it was for a decent price. And there's the dog.
No,
Sorry about my technical issues, everybody.
Yeah.
But here's my wife to say Ultraman. Say Ultraman, honey. Say Ultraman, honey. Say it. Yay! Bye, you guys.
And there you have it. Andy's wife.
Okay.
I think she's yelling at him now.
No, yeah, what you said, what? No. I snorted.
Anyway, so that's my spiel on the figure side of things here. So I think
I'm just so proud of you and so like blown away that you were able to hunt those down, because that's not trust me, people, when I say it's not an easy task to do what he did financially and like to find them.
I don't recommend anybody do what I did. Don't.
No, I don't recommend it either. But I think it's awesome, and my hat goes off to you for sure.
Well, Ultra figures for Western collectors tend to be, especially for X-Plus and the higher-end ones, are actually harder to find because Ultraman is more popular in Japan.
Yep.
They tend to get bought out faster.
And more expensive.
So yeah, and now a lot of the Ultra figures are only available as Ricks from the X-Plus Rick site, which makes it even more difficult to acquire some of them because they're not farming them out to Hobby Search or Hobby Link Japan anymore, which they used to be a lot more common. Now a lot of them are showing just on the X-Plus Rick site, which is sometimes a pain in the ass to navigate.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to wrap this up. Does anybody want to add anything else before we rock and roll? Roger.
I just think people need to give it a shot. If you've not seen the series, give it a shot. Like Rich said, it's pretty affordable. You can get it for about under $15, probably shipped to your door.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of fun. And if you like Toho, Showa Toho films, it really harkens to that vibe. And it's just a lot of fun, and no one's saying you have to collect all these things, but it is sort of a possibility if you really do like the series like we all do. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know there's there's less Ultra fans than Godzilla fans out there, but G-Fest is going to have it is the 50th anniversary.
It is, yeah. Yeah, 1966 was a very good year for the genre.
Yep.
It was the golden age. It was towards the close of the golden age of Toho and Tsuburaya filmmaking. So yeah, definitely G-Fest will have some cool stuff. And anyway, I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yep, I will say that I'm probably going to knock out Gezura as my first Ultra fresh vinyl review probably within the next 4 or 5 days or so. I really should do Ultraman Type A here as my first review, but I really want to do Gezura because I do love that figure. I'll save all that for the review. So expect Ultraman fresh vinyl reviews for all the figures I've acquired. Shameless plug time. Make sure you check out Fresh Vinyl HQ. You guys can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Vine. I'm doing those silly Vine things, and you're going to find not so much kaiju stuff. I'm just doing some weird shit on Vine just because it's funny. And I started a podcast. Yes, I am doing a podcast now. It's called The Freshness. So it kind of rolls off the tongue easy. So I did start a podcast. Check that out on Podbean. Look up The Freshness. It is available on iTunes as well. The podcast will mostly be focusing on toy talk, and we'll throw in some other topics, as I go with that, and we'll see if it takes off. I'll continue to do it, but, it's just another way to talk about stuff that I don't really feel like just doing different things with. Anyway, so that's my 2 cents. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode of Fresh Vinyl Live. It would be episode 24. We'll probably do something in March, possibly after or towards the end of the month, and then we'll have Monster Mania to talk about. And then we'll start amping up for G-Fest. Bam! So, thank you for watching, everybody. Rob, David, thank you for joining. Andy, thank you for joining with your wife screaming at the TV or at the screen. And your dog looked thrilled. Vince, sorry you couldn't make it, but you were here with in spirit. And Robert, Vince says to post your stuff in the Ultraman Collectors group. And that is...
happy birthday, John Bumpus.
Yes, happy birthday, John Bumpus. He's moving, and he's birthday partying today. And that is our show. Thank you for watching, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode of Fresh Vinyl Live and Fresh Vinyl Reviews. Bam!
Take care, folks.
Bye.
Hey.